My sister has always been the sweetest person in the family. Ever since she was little, she had a way of making everyone smile, even on the worst days. I was the oldest brother, 2 years ahead of her, and I grew up with the responsibility of protecting her from everything. But I failed, and that's exactly why I'm here, telling the story. Because the last request she made of me completely changed the way I see the world. And honestly, I still wonder if I would have the courage to do it all over again. It all started about a year ago. Laura, that was her name, had been complaining of fatigue, headaches, and weird dizziness. We thought it was just stress from college because she was in her last semester and also worked part-time. But things started to get worse. First, she fainted in the kitchen. Then, she started bleeding from her nose. Until one day, we found her lying on the floor of her room, unconscious. We rushed to the hospital. Several tests later, we received the news that destroyed our family, a brain tumor. And the worst part, inoperable. Laura listened to all of this with a calmness that frightened me. She just looked at the doctor, took a deep breath and asked, "How long do I have?" The doctor tried to stall, but she insisted. The answer, a few months. Maybe less, if the tumor grew quickly. Going home that day was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. We walked down the hospital corridor as if we were anesthetized, unable to understand that this was really happening. My sister, only 22 years old, had her days numbered. In the following weeks, she refused to get depressed. Instead, she started writing letters, arranging boxes with memories, organizing old photos, as if she was trying to get everything in order before she left. Her strength left me in pieces. How could she smile knowing that she was going to die? How could she be so light, so present, so alive? It was then that, on a Saturday afternoon, she called me to talk. I went into her room, and she was sitting on the bed with a small wooden box on her lap. She called me over and asked me to sit next to her. Then she said, in the most serene voice in the world, "I have one last request to make of you." At that moment, my heart froze. I was expecting anything. That she would ask me to take care of our parents, to scatter her ashes in some beautiful place. But it wasn't like that at all. What she asked me was strange. "I want you to find the owner of this letter." She opened the box and showed me a yellowed letter, the paper somewhat worn by time. It had an old smell, a dry feel. The handwriting was beautiful, full of loops, and it began with, "To my daughter, whom I hope to find one day." Laura explained that she had found this letter by chance a few years ago when she bought an old book at a second-hand bookstore in the city center. The letter was inside, as if it had been forgotten by someone. She read it and was moved. It said profound, moving things. It was from a woman who, apparently, was forced to give her daughter up for adoption in the 1980s. The woman said that, wherever she was, she never stopped loving that girl. "I always wanted to find this daughter," Laura said. "I always wanted to give her this letter. But I never could. Now I want you to do it for me." I swear I tried to convince her that there were more important things for us to focus on at that moment. She was sick. She needed to rest. But she insisted. I said that if I truly loved her, I would do it. Not at that moment, but later, after everything was over. 2 months later, she passed away. There is no way to explain the emptiness that was left. My sister was my best friend, my confidant, my partner. When she left, it was as if half of me had disappeared with her. 4 weeks, I couldn't even open the little box. Until one Sunday morning, I gathered up the courage. I picked up the letter and started investigating. The only clue was an address written on the back of the paper, a street in Curitiba. The letter didn't have the woman's name, just M, at the end. There was also no name of the daughter. Nothing but the story and the date, 1985. I started with the address. It was an old building, which had already been renovated, but still had that 1970s facade. I rang the intercom and a lady answered. When I explained the reason for my visit, she was silent for a few seconds, then invited me to come upstairs. In the apartment, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. When I showed her the letter, she put her hand over her mouth. It was the sister of the woman who wrote it. According to her, the woman's name was Marta, and the story was true. She had gotten pregnant at 17, and her parents forced her to give her daughter up for adoption. Marta spent years trying to find the girl again, but never had any leads. Later, she moved to another state and lost contact with her own family. The sister told me that Marta died in 1999 in a car accident. She never had any other children. She never married. She died of a broken heart, she said. The last thing she said to me was, "Did my daughter hate me for this?" I felt a tightness in my chest. And from that day on, I knew I couldn't stop. I had to find this daughter. The search lasted months. I used social media, adoption groups, old records. I went to notary offices, interviewed people, sent emails, until I finally found a solid lead. A woman named Amanda, registered as adopted the same year in the same city. I sent her a message without giving many details. I just said that I had a letter written by someone very important that might be intended for her. She was suspicious at first, but agreed to meet me at a cafe. When we met, I knew. It was her. She had Marta's eyes, the same sweet expression, the same delicate way of touching her hair. I handed her the letter, and she started reading it right there. I will never forget the tears that fell down her face. Amanda was adopted by a wonderful family, but she always felt that something was missing. She always wanted to know who her biological mother was, but her adoptive parents didn't have much information. And now, more than 30 years later, she had an answer. That letter changed her life, but it changed mine too, because it was at that moment that I understood why my sister made that request of me. She knew that, by seeking out this woman, I would also be healing myself, forcing myself to come out of mourning, reconnecting with life. Today, Amanda is part of our family. We have become great friends, and somehow, I feel that Laura is alive in every reunion we witness. My sister's last request not only brought peace to a woman who lived with doubts for years, but it also gave me a new purpose. And no one can take that away from me.